Fair.
There is our referee, Mario Elias, and we are underway here from North York, Ontario. Toronto FC 2 in their typical red. It's Rochester in those white tops. So as you mentioned, Chris, this is the 13th meeting between these two sides all time. And, of course, the third so far this season. It is Toronto FC, or pardon me, it's Rochester who leads this series by 6-2, 4 draws in there as well. And these two teams so far this year, it was a regulation win for Toronto FC 2 in the second meeting. It was a shootout win for Rochester in the first meeting, and now they meet up here for the first time in Toronto.
And of course, right now, Toronto are on a very hot streak of form. They're on a three-game win streak and 8-game unbeaten run. And the beating that they put on Miami last week was kind of a little statement that opened some eyes to the rest of the league. The 4-1 win that they got, that they're in hot form right now, and they're a team that really could be pushing to go all the way in the postseason.
As this cross is sent to the back post, this centering ball is cleared away, but good early pressure here from Rochester. And you mentioned that 4-1 win over Miami, 4 different goal scorers as well. But this is a Toronto FC 2 team that went 10 games unbeaten, 7 wins, 3 draws before they lost to Chicago a couple of weeks ago. And actually, their 10-game unbeaten run started after a loss to Chicago. It ended with a loss to Chicago. So something about fire, too, is giving them some trouble this year. But just 1 loss over their last 12 games. This team is really finding some good form and just trying to now carry that into this last part of the season and potentially into the playoffs, which they can clinch today.
Yeah, and of course, that's also a very good Miami team. And coming from the climate in Canada, the humidity and heat that you face in Florida, it's not the easiest place to come away and put on a convincing performance like they did last week. So give them a lot of credit to the form they're in right now, the performance they're putting on and the results they're getting. I think they're genuine contenders, a team to be reckoned with.
Toronto looking to build forward. They are without their leading goal scorer today, and Paul Rothrock not in the 18. The same can be said for Rochester, New York. And Gibran Raya, who is suspended, just picked up his 5th yellow card of the season last time out in the 2-1 win over Philadelphia on Sunday. Analian and Williams scoring the 2 goals for Rochester the last time out. And they have now won 2 games in a row after they went through a tough stretch, which was 5 games winless, 0-4-1. So they are trying to get things back on track, but 6 points over the last 2 games will do just that.
And we briefly spoke about the form that the Toronto FC are in right now, Toronto FC 2. Rochester have also picked up form. You know, a few weeks ago that nobody imagined they would be in the position they're in right now in the playoffs, but an uptick in form has taken them to a solid position right now where they genuinely could be in the postseason. And the belief, you know, we talked to head coach Bruno about, you know, what is it that's turned this team around? And he talks about the chemistry that this team has brought together, good people becoming good players, and the chemistry has been the key factor in turning around the results they've had throughout the course of the season.
And we've talked to him a few times this year, and he's always gone back to the start of this season. That's one back in a good area. Chance here for Jallo. Cuts this back, and it's just wide. What an opportunity that was for Boubacar Jallo, winning it back high up the field, but the shot not on target.
Great work here from Jallo. He creates this opportunity himself, being tenacious, closing down, does ever so well to win the ball here. I think he could have been a little bit more explosive when he won it, taking on a defender. I think here he's guilty of being a little bit too unselfish. He tries to cut the ball back to the far post for a teammate who wasn't there, instead of trying to finish it himself. But work rate, intensity, closing down, create the opportunity for Jallo. Just unable to finish with the final touches.
Tonoglu almost got there. Instead, it's an opportunity for Kari Jovanovic. This is touchdown of play. It'll be the game's first corner kick. It comes for TFC 2. Played in short. Yates keeps it moving now, and Tonoglu with the service. This is headed clear. Tonoglu Lou again.
And we spoke briefly, Josh. We're getting to the stage of the season where you're starting to see less fluctuation in the rosters with players going up and down. And we asked Coach Bruno, you know, how does it affect him having a roster where he can work with his team consistently week in, week out? He knows the players he's going to have available in comparison to some of the other coaches throughout the league who players go up and down a little bit more frequently, and they don't know the team they're going to be able to play at the weekend until maybe Thursday or sometimes Friday. He's able to prepare his team consistently throughout the course of the week. He said that the quality of players that some of the other organizations are able to bring down from their first teams has a huge impact in the quality that's on the pitch. So sometimes that consistency and chemistry that he's able to build by having a consistent roster cannot make up the difference for the levels in quality when some teams are able to drop down players. But he's very proud of how his teams responded throughout the course of the season. They got off to a slow start, and he feels that adversity that they faced early in the season is actually part of the reason why they've gone on to be so strong unit towards the latter stages of the season.
They have brought on this man right here, Opie Edwards, as this is cut back. Good build up here from Rochester, and it's saved at the near post by Luka Gavrin. 5 clean sheets this year for Gavrin, the 22-year-old.
Some nice work on the right-hand side here from Inalian. Cuts it back to Williams. He just doesn't quite get the connection on the ball that he would have liked. Probably would have been better off going across the keeper in that situation to the far post, but Rochester, some good build-up play, some good tenacity, closing down, aggressive pressing in the final third, creating some opportunities for them right now.
What we were saying earlier about Bruno Baltazar is early on this year, something he's brought up quite a bit is this team really didn't have a preseason. They played no friendlies. They had about a week of build-up before the season. So he says, and many of the players have echoed the same sentiments, that they're in this situation is not necessarily a surprise, but they've kind of defied the odds a bit this year, and they put themselves in a great position to at least have a chance this late in the season.
Yeah, and you have to give the staff and the players a lot of credit for the character, right? Because when you face adversity like that and you don't have a preseason, it's very easy to turn around and say, okay, we have no expectations, we're not going to succeed because we didn't have the same opportunities as everybody else to prepare. But they've got down, they've worked hard, they've been gritty, and look at the position they find themselves in now. Fantastic position given the circumstances that they face this season. And Coach Bruno, when you talk to him, you can sense his passion and his intensity in his voice. He wants more. He's saying that he's not satisfied with where they are, what they've achieved. He wants more. He's ambitious. He wants to go further. He wants the players to go further. He wants to take the organization as far as he can. So his goals and his drive and his personality, I think, is what allows the players to feed off of that and also have the same levels of ambition.
This Rochester team, though, they have a big game next week as well. If they're not able to get it done today, they play NYCFC 2. That'll be, though, at home, but they want to get 3 points today and give themselves a little bit of wiggle room should it not go the right way next week. Here's Dolabella. In swinger right in front, and the shot is wide, but the flag is up. Good ball in, and that diagonal run was nearly perfect, but the flag was up to negate it all.
Great disguised pass there from Donabello. I think the finish, actually, the pass deserved more. That finish should have been on target. Even if it wasn't offside, it wasn't going to go into the back of the net, but that's a great pass there. He gives everybody the eyes, the shoulders, then whips his hips around and plays the disguised pass right into the path of his teammate. Just unable to convert it on target.
And this Toronto team, they actually have 2 more games after this when they play midweek here at home against Inter Miami 2, and then they'll hit the road and take on Orlando City B on decision day on Sunday. So they still have quite a bit in front of them this week, and what could be a very important week. And something we haven't mentioned yet is this Toronto FC team has never made the playoffs as Kayike steps in. They've had 7 previous seasons. They have never made the postseason, so a huge opportunity this year to finally play playoff soccer, and they're so close, but still you got to get to that finish line.
Good reading of the game there earlier from Kayike. If he wasn't so quick to get off his line, he would have been in trouble there. But his positioning and anticipation of the play made the play look fairly easy to deal with.
The Brazilian in his first season in the United States, tied for the most clean sheets in the league with 7.
And we forget that, you know, the passion of the fans in the Rochester area is something that can be competed with anywhere across the US. I want to believe that the last non-MLS team to win the US Open Cup was actually Rochester Rhinos. You know, we just saw the final between Sacramento and Orlando City, but Rochester up there when we're having those conversations about legacy and achieving phenomenal accomplishments. I think it's only a matter of time before we see them back up there again, achieving those kinds of trophies and results and championships.
They did have a couple of wins, Rochester, New York, in the U.S. Open Cup this year against Lansdowne Boys and FC Motown before losing out to NYCFC in the third round of the competition. To be able to play in those games, no doubt important for this new team, as Edwards has his cross blocked down. It looks like it will be a corner kick upcoming here for Rochester, New York. They're having a wardrobe malfunction there. And Williams will take his time to put this back in play. Sure, everybody's good to go here. Needs to come off the fields.
Sometimes these extended pauses in play can disrupt the focus and concentration of players. And set pieces can be so key, because that's where you really have to be focusing and concentrating so much. We know that set pieces are a huge part, maybe like 30% of goals throughout the course of the season are scored from set pieces. It's become such an integral part of the game that clubs are now assigning designated set piece staff as part of their teams, because they know how important set pieces are.
You can see Kerry Jovanovic walking off on the far side. He went down when he sent that last cross in. And it looks like all ready to go. But you wonder if there might be an early sub from TFC2. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Ed Williams is ready to serve this one in. And towards the near post, looking for that flick. And Gavrin quick to pounce on it. He's able to hold on for TFC2.
I'm not sure whether that corner kick was intentional or if he mishit it. It looked more like he mishit it and his teammate just reacted to it, but almost turned into a goal-scoring opportunity. Sometimes that's how things happen. The imperfect pass ends up creating an opportunity because nobody was really expecting it.
A giveaway right in the middle, and it's picked up here by Jallo. Boubacar Jallo scooping this forward. Dalabella will try to keep this in. It does, and Alian couldn't keep it. On the turn, it's Hugo Imbong. This in, and Tonaglu down the near side, but instead it was Gerardo Lopez stepping in.
Toronto is struggling to build out from the back. Rochester's press has been very aggressive, and they've been successful in closing players down and winning the ball in the final third. They just need to be a little bit more clinical and creating goal-scoring chances once they do that. But the press has been very successful in this opening stage for Rochester. Toronto is struggling to get out and connect passes, some terrible giveaways. Rochester just haven't been able to punish them as a result of it.
So Kerry Jovanovic, he did go down and receive treatment, so of course he has to wait the 3 minutes to come back onto the field. That's why he is not back on quite yet.
And of course, at this phase of the game, you're not going to assume that a player is play acting, right?
Correct.
As we get towards the second half and you get towards the 80th minute, and whatever team's in control, of course, normally at that stage players do manage the game a little bit differently, take a little bit longer to get off the floor, bring on the treatment staff to kind of wind down the clock.
You're being way too nice. A foul will send this back to Toronto FC 2, but we know what you mean.
I mean, I think it was a strong challenge. Replaying it was a strong challenge.
Yeah.
I think it was Mbong that put the challenge on him. It was a fair challenge, a strong challenge. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully he's able to re-enter the game shortly. But now, thinking about it, now there's going to be something that you want to consistently train during the week, because you know there's going to be periods of the game where you're going to spend 3 minutes under pressure with 10 men.
It's true.
If a player goes down and they need to receive treatment. So now it's a scenario that coaches are going to want to recreate in training sessions throughout the course of the week more often, because it's realistic that you're going to play parts of the game with 10 men on a regular basis in this league as the season progresses. So for sure, I'm sure it's something that coaches are now programming into their weekly training sessions of how they adapt if a player has to go down and get treatment and needs to come off the field for those 3 minutes.
And with Kerry Jovanovic off the field, it's been a lot of Rochester on the ball, as you might expect.
But you would anticipate, and this is where the players on the field take responsibility. If you realize that the opponents are down to 10 men for the next 3 minutes, maybe that's the opportunity for you to now be very, very aggressive in how you press and attack and try to take advantage of a numerical advantage. If you obviously play a slow tempo and slow down the tempo of the game, it plays into the hands of the team that are down a player, because now they can take a little bit more time to get that player back onto the field. If you're aggressive, you try to get into final third, create opportunities as much as possible, and try to score during that period when you have that advantage. I don't think Rochester have done that at the moment, given that Toronto are down to 10 men for that 3-minute period.
Well, now Kerry Jovanovic back on the field, so back to full strength, as they like to say in these parts. Oh, nice little flick forward. Chance coming here, and there it is! Jesus Batiz opens the scoring for Rochester. Little shake of the hips, he slots it home. Rochester, New York FC leads 1-0.
I think this opening goal is 100% deserved for Rochester in their approach to the opening 15 minutes of the game. They've been on the front foot, they've been aggressive, but this touch from Williams to create this opportunity is absolutely sublime. Ball comes into him, first touch, just lets it go on the outside of his foot into the path of Batiz, and Batiz makes no mistake in putting this into the back of the net.
For Batiz, his 5th goal on the season, and he slotted that home with some confidence and with ease as well. That little flick forward was also beautiful to set up that opportunity. And now it's Rochester who gets the early goal.
Number 77, Jordan Peruzza.
And there's already an early sub here from Toronto FC 2, as Jordan Peruzza has come on to replace Stefan Kerry Jovanovic. He did go down. He was the one that was off the field for a few minutes, and now it's Peruzza who is onto the field, an experienced player here with Toronto FC 2. He scored 18 total goals in his TFC 2 career.
You have to give Batiz a lot of credit for the finish also. In those situations, you often talk to go across the goalkeeper, because if he doesn't save it, maybe parries it and somebody follows in. But he fakes the goalkeeper and makes him believe he goes across him, and at the last minute shifts his hips and drives it into the near post. Great finish.
And correction on Batiz, actually his 4th goal of the season, but he has still been a good piece of this attack for Rochester, New York, and Bruno Baltazar. This is turned over, and Rochester can look upfield once again, and that pass just too far out in front there of Inalian.
It was the right idea, but I thought that pass could have been played earlier, which would have given Inalian even more time and space to attack that area. It took 3 touches, and then the pass was over here. I feel like if he had a better awareness when he received that pass, he could have done it a little bit earlier. Caught the Toronto back line unaware.
There also was a sub just a moment ago for Rochester, New York, and it's Ian Garrett coming on to replace Opie Edwards. He did go down right in front of the bench. So his first start in a Rochester, New York shirt is just about 18 minutes long. So an early sub for both teams. We'll see how that affects things. Toronto trying to start something in the attack. Shot coming. Kayike able to push this out of play. It's a corner kick on the way. It was Alec Diaz on that far side.
Yeah, Diaz just trying to catch Kayike unaware. Makes it look like he's winding up to deliver the ball in for a low-driven cross, but just gets the ball out his feet and drives it towards the near post. But Kayike was well positioned to deal with it.
Now play it in short. And now the cross comes in. This is overhit and out of play. And there is Garrett coming onto the fields. From Kalamazoo, Michigan, but has spent the last few years since 2017 in Finland and Sweden. So back playing domestically.
And now it's going to be interesting to see the response from Toronto FC. We gave them a lot of credit and praise at the beginning for the 3-match win streak and 8 games unbeaten. But they started very slowly in these opening 20 minutes in this game. They've not looked that good going forward whatsoever. And definitely at the back, there's been a lot of issues building out with Rochester pressing some aggressively. And they're turning over the ball so easily right now. They've been very good, but a lot of improvement needed on the opening in today's game so far.
And Alian trying to cut this in, weaving through. Gets it at the end line, tries to center that ball. It was blocked down, and Toronto FC 2 can look to clear this away. Rochester giving Toronto a ton of trouble trying to play out here. Gavrin and Tonaglu. Here's Rohan Gulborn. Toronto pinned in at the moment.
I mean, you have to give Rochester credit in the way they're pressing. Although Toronto did hold on to possession for an extended period of time there, they didn't manage to get themselves out of their defensive third with all the passes they were making, and then they ended up playing a long pass. They ended up giving possession back to Rochester, but Rochester doing a good job of pinning them into that defensive third and not allowing them to play out easily.
That was just unfortunate from Diaz. Hit off his heel and out of play. Looked to be a good ball into space down the right. So as things stand, this is part of the formula that Rochester needs to potentially book a spot in the playoffs. They need a regulation win, and then they also need a Miami regulation loss tonight, but they won't be able to clinch today as they also need an NYC loss or draw. And they don't play until Wednesday to NYC FC2. And it's NYC FC2 who will go on the road to FC Cincinnati 2. A foul there. Free kick upcoming for Rochester.
And the foul to the injury to Edwards that caused him to leave the field. It's going to be interesting to see how serious that is. Obviously, that's a fairly new player to the squad who joins from Forest Green Rovers in the UK to kind of strengthen the team going into the postseason and for the remaining fixtures. Obviously, if that injury ends up being anything serious, we may not see him for the remainder of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happened in that instance.
Trying to put this into play, playing it down the line, nothing doing. Something off the training ground on that free kick for Rochester. There's the switch of play for Antonoglu, who's just able to keep it. And he's in space, looking to spring this in behind Kaike, way off his line. Did that hit his hand? Referee pointed right to his chest. Bold goalkeeping there from Kaike.
The way he anticipates play, that's the second time he's done that in a game where the second he senses that danger, he's off his line quickly and he makes the right decision. He's able to close it down and prevent the shot on goal. But also, you're looking at the same time, if you realize that he's so quick off his line now, maybe it's the time to make that extra pass, catch him off his line, and somebody else convert it. But Kaike, again, reading the game so well here. There's not many goalkeepers who would be that quick to get off their line and close that down. Does ever so well also to keep his hands out of the way. You see when the ball connects him, he's outside of his 18-yard box, and if he hands that...
It's close. It's close.
I mean, it's hard for a referee to see in that situation, and I don't think there's any intention in it. But
I guess if you're not 100% sure as the referee, just got to let it go on, and that's what he did.
And I think Kaike catches the striker unaware. He's not expecting it to see him out that distance. If the striker's aware, he probably just lifts it over him into an empty net.
Toronto trying to get a little bit more comfortable on the ball.
There's been a couple times in the past 5 minutes where Toronto have done a good job of switching the ball from side to side. Once one player's got the ball, Rochester really aggressive in their press, and 3 and 4 players go towards the ball to close it down. And once they're able to play out the other side, out of that pressure, there's players on the other side of the field in 1v1 situations that are able to now build their attack from the opposite side of the field. So they've done a good job of switching the point of attack when they recognize that pressure's come, but they just haven't been able to provide anything meaningful in the final third in terms of goal-scoring opportunities as yet.
Comes Toronto again. Camarero moves it all the way to that end line. Diaz. Back into the middle for Yates. He lost his balance.
Ball just getting stuck under his feet there. Toronto doing a better job of getting higher up the field now and sustaining possession.
Just trying to slide that in behind, and it'll run all the way out of play.
Yeah, it didn't look like they were on the same frequency there. One player was asking to feet. The player in possession of the ball wanted him to make the run behind, and they ended up turning away possession.
Two games already in the books on this Sunday in MLS Next Pro. Of course, Philadelphia Union 2 all over Orlando City B, 6-1. That, of course, has some implications here in the Eastern Conference. The only game out west was actually a bit of an upset. North Texas taking down St. Louis City 2 by 3-1. And that has given now Tacoma Defiance the upper hand in the race for the top spot in the West. As Kaike will see this run out of play, or he'll keep it in at the end line. So one more game left for both those teams out west. It's St. Louis City 2 will host SKC 2, and Tacoma Defiance will take on Portland Timbers 2 on decision day next week. So it's Tacoma in the driver's seat out west. It is still Columbus, though, out east that is booked their spot into the playoffs, and they have clinched the top spot as well, as they have started to run away with this conference. There's Yates, nearly ran into the referee. Here comes TFC2 back into the attack.
Nice one-touch passing through the center of the park there from Toronto FC. I think they're now finding more success. The less touches they make, the quicker they move the ball, they're able to keep possession of it and be more meaningful in their build-up play. However, right now the score's 1-0 in favor of Rochester, and while Toronto may be doing well in dominating the possession, the statistics, they've not necessarily created very threatening goal-scoring opportunities right now. I think Rochester will be fairly comfortable in how the game is progressing right now.
Long shot coming. Kayike, happy to see that fly out of play.
There goes me speaking too soon.
Yeah. It's a good effort on goal there.
It's a great strike. They left him so much time. Nobody's closing him down, so he takes it out his feet, drills it. Looks like it was dipping a little bit just as it started to get towards goal from Franklin. KK takes no risks and slight touch of it over the crossbar. That's an area of the field there that Rochester need to be careful allowing players to drive into.
And Tonoglu sends this in, was looking for Perus at the near post. Toronto keeps it alive, but Yates' effort is well wide.
It's a good delivery from the corner kick. Yates just unable to get a clean connection on the strike from the rebound. Mishits it. I'm sure he wishes he has the opportunity back once again. Cheeky nutmeg from Mbong there on Dolabella.
Foul there on the far side. Does sound like some Rochester fans that made the trip around Lake Ontario. Be much quicker if you just beeline it right across the lake, but you gotta drive all the way around.
I think it's actually it's when you get to the customs. There's obviously long lines.
Of course,
that makes the journey a little bit longer when you're crossing across the border for driving.
Flag up for offside. Kayike can take his time to put this back into play.
Just leaves his run probably a second or two too early there on this left-hand side of the field, way offside. Easy decision there for the fourth official, for the assistant referee.
Obviously a long way to go here, but if Rochester is able to grab the full 3 points, it would be their third 3-game win streak of the season. They have not won more than 3 games at a time. They've gone through a bit of a rocky patch in the middle. It was these last 2 games they've won in a row. Before that, it was 5 games winless. Previous to that, they didn't lose a game outright in the previous 5. So it's been a season of runs, to be fair, for Rochester. Oh, look at all that space after the switch of play by Ian Garrett. Cross coming in, it was deflected and out of play. Corner kick up coming for RNY.
Great switch of play there from Garrett. Getting the ball out onto that left foot and just recognizing that the space was out there on the left-hand side. Finding his teammate in tons of space.
Looks like Ian Garrett preparing to take this.
Yeah, you can already see in the short time he's been on the pitch, you can see the quality that he has in that left foot.
And he'll use it here. It's an outswinging ball. Batiz, the goal scorer, swings it back around. Garrett's service coming back in. Chance there at the top of the area. Couldn't get full purchase on the shot, and taken by Luca Gavrin. And the distribution is quick.
Striker on the edge of the box there probably didn't realize how much time he had. Probably had time to take a touch and pick his corner there. However, mishits his striker, and fairly straightforward for the goalkeeper to collect that.
Yates couldn't keep it. Jalo now Garrett. Williams in the middle will keep it for Rochester.
Williams just popping up in little pockets all over the park. Of course, he was the one responsible with that definitely touch to create the goal scoring opportunity for Rochester to take the lead. But you see he drifts. He doesn't necessarily stay central. You see him popping up in little pockets in the channels. Makes it very difficult for defenders to pick him up.
Late whistle there, but it was indeed a foul. Free kick to Rochester as Toronto wanted to go quickly. Christian Wood, the one who's brought down. Product out of Loyola Marymount in Southern California.
It looked like there was too much there, but obviously he got caught somewhere. Limping a little bit, hopefully he's able to jog it off.
Lofted forward again. That did check up, but it's headed back to Gavrin.
I think that early pressing that Rochester did is just taking a little bit of wind out of them, a little bit of gas out there. You can see the players now, like, they need to sit for 5 or 10 minutes, regain their energy, regain their shape, and then pressing in patches. I think the opportunity is there right now with the way Toronto FC are moving the ball around the back. There's great opportunities to put them under pressure, and again, like they were doing in the opening 15 minutes, but the energy's just not been there from Rochester for the past 5.
And Allian does get in and force another corner kick. We'll have it on this near side this time. This will be the third corner kick of the half for Rochester. Shot total also starting to increase for Toronto. 4 shots, 2 of them on target. And Rochester 2 shots with 2 of them on target. Of course, one has hit the back of the net. Wood and Goulbourne will get a conversation with the referee. The in-swinger by Garrett. Oh, it's snatched out of midair there by Gavrin. Confident goalkeeping.
Good keeping there from Gavrin. He doesn't just come out. Many situations you see goalkeepers come out in that situation, they punch it away. He comes out, claims it, and keeps possession of the ball for his team.
Goulbourne trying to pick out that ball into the middle for Yates. Going to be a throw regardless for Toronto.
You can see there's so many bodies on this side of the pitch. Jalo comes back, you can see cross back into where the pressure is rather than trying to switch the ball to the other side of the field. It was great work from Garrett, tenacious, closing players down to win the ball. But they need to be a little bit more assertive in the decision making when they're in possession.
Perusa. Down the line for Antonoglu. Being pestered there defensively. Kanyeridge did well, and it's turned over. And down the line, they'll try it along the right side this time. And a throw into Toronto. Lamar Batista has relinquished the ball there to Alec Diaz. Perusa Tonoglu, the cross coming in. Sent right back where it came from. And now to play.
Good defending right now from Rochester. They're coming under a little bit of spell of pressure because the possession has been in favor of Toronto FC, but they've done well in not allowing too many clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities. They're closing down players, blocking crosses. Defenders are getting in good positions to anticipate the deliveries and clear them away. 5 minutes to go to half-time. You know, the focus and concentration for the team needs to be on not conceding, going into half-time in the lead, allowing head coach Bruno to readdress how they're going to shape up for the second half.
Batiz just in an offside position there.
There we see those issues that Toronto FC are having when they're building out from the back. Rochester put them under pressure and then results in a long ball that's given away into the path of no one back to Rochester. So I think Toronto FC, if you're going in at half-time and their coach is looking at, he needs to look at, you know, how can we be more effective in how we're building out from the back. Right now, Rochester has a lot of problems playing out, not successful. Maybe they need to recognize there's a lot of numbers pressing forward and the space is actually behind them, and it would make more sense to penetrate them earlier rather than connecting so many passes and losing possession of the ball and giving Rochester the ball in dangerous areas where they can hurt them.
Right now they're just looking for a few more dangerous attacking opportunities. Maybe they can turn to Perusa. There's a whistle and it's a foul on Perusa, and he's an interesting prospect here for Toronto FC2. He spent parts of the last 2 seasons on loan with San Antonio FC in the USL Championship. He's made 13 appearances with the first team in 2022. And he has been with his TFC2 team since 2018. So he's still looking for that really long spell with the first team, but at least getting a game here today, and did score his first goal of the season in MLX Next Pro last week in that 4-1 win at Inter Miami 2. And still just 21 years old, so still fairly young, but looking to really burst onto the scene. As Garrett calmly heads it back for Kaique again.
Defensively, you can see in this right fullback position for Rochester, Garrett is very much left-footed. So defensively, his body shape and his positioning is not going to be ideal. I don't think Toronto have really put him under any pressure to test him defensively in this side of the field. He's been very good in possession so far in early stages of this game, and he's been the play they've gone to now for set pieces. So in possession, he's been exceptional for Rochester. I just question, being a left-footed player playing right back, how he would handle a little bit more pressure defensively.
And probably factors in some of the injuries this team is dealing with at the moment. And of course, with Opie Edwards coming off the field and forced into that right back position. As you mentioned, he has shown good quality.
We know this is a good Toronto team. For me, the first half, they haven't really shown that. So I believe that the second half, things can only get better for them. And it's going to be interesting to see how Rochester are able to weather any potential changes that they make at halftime, or if Rochester become even more aggressive and push for more goals in the second half. I think we know that this is, if the result stands at his, it's a great result for Rochester against one of the top teams in MLS Next Pro right now. Strong contenders to go all the way.
Franklin couldn't move it out wide, and it's Jallo to step in, and he can lead the break for Rochester. Jallo still coming forward, just lost his balance as he tried to move it off to the left side. And runs out for a goal kick.
He does ever so well here, Jallo. Winning the ball first, driving forward. You can even see the defender lost his footing and fell over, so then there was tons of space here. You can see the defender comes in, falls over. Just a little bit of quality on the pass. But he overhits it, and it's a fantastic opportunity wasted there. You have to give him credit for the tenacity, for the energy, for driving forward. Just the final touch. Needs to just work on that final pass.
Indicated there will be a minimum of 2 minutes.
2 minutes added on as Perusa tried to run forward. And he was in an offside position.
Perusa again, you know, he just needs to take a couple more steps to the right, keep himself on side. There's a couple of occasions now where the ball's been played into that space behind and he's already standing in offside position before the ball's kicked. Just needs to be a little better in how he times his runs because he's attacking the right areas, but where he's going too early, he's just turning possession back over to Rochester through being in offside position. So I think his intentions are right, just needs to work on the timing of those runs.
Headed back to Gavrin as the final few seconds of this first half tick off the clock. And Jesus Batiz, his goal is so far the difference in this one. The assist went to Ed Williams. That was his 4th assist of the season. Came all the way back in the 17th minute.
Again, those balls forward from Toronto FC not finding a teammate.
And there is the final whistle. The first 45 minutes is come and gone. And it's the roadside Rochester. Everybody's on side. And now we get the second half underway. Toronto and Rochester trying to book their spots into the playoffs. And these next 45 minutes will go a long way to deciding whether that happens.
And of course, we spoke about, you know, expecting to see a different Toronto FC in the second half. Yes, they had possession in the first half, but
I'm going to win this back in a good area. Shot from Williams is held onto by Gavrin. That was dipping and swerving away from him. He's still able to hold on to it.
The possession they had in the first half wasn't necessarily dangerous or purposeful or creating anything meaningful. And again, we're just 1 minute into the second half and we see them playing around the back. A giveaway creates an opportunity for Williams to get a shot off on goal. You know, I think that Toronto have to adapt their approach to this game because so far it's not been as successful I think they might have liked.
Omar Batista able to take that off of Kobe Franklin. Here comes Rochester again, and Alian trying to get it right back from Batiz. Jallo. Overlapping run from Wood. His cross fizzled in. Still another opportunity in for Rochester with Jallo.
Good build-up here play. Good build-up play here from Rochester.
There's Garrett cutting in field again.
Good play there from Garrett, but he's just lacking a central midfielder. One of the midfielders needed to come centrally and give him an easy option to be the pivot player to switch the point of attack. He had to dribble inside it and create the space and do it himself instead of having a player there to make the job a little bit easier. But great work there from Garrett once again.
Well, no subs at halftime. And remember, both teams did have to make an injury substitution in that first half. So already one window and one sub used for both sides. As Perusa is brought down, he was the one that came on for Toronto. It was Garrett who came on for Rochester. Yates for Franklin. There's Goulbourne.
Again, it's a bad turnover from Toronto, but you have to give Rochester credit because they're making it so difficult for Toronto to be able to play through them. They're compact, they're aggressive when they're closing down. The distances between the lines and the players is good. They're making it very difficult for Toronto to be able to create anything meaningful in the possession that they're having.
Still some options that Johnny Cimini can turn to on the bench. Julian Altobelli, 5 goals, 3 assists to his name so far this year. There's no doubt that Jordan Peruzza can put the ball in the back of the net as he has done in prior years with TFC2. We mentioned his 18 career goals for this club.
No doubt Johnny Cimini will make some changes over the course of the second half. One of a handful of coaches in the US who has been on the elite formation coaches license that's in collaboration with the French Football Federation. So I'm sure he's got a few tricks up his sleeve as this second half progresses.
You can say you were part of it too.
I sat in on parts of it. I think the course actually started in 2019, and because of the COVID it got shut down and just terminated in July 2022, and I had the privilege of sitting in on a couple of the sessions, and it's really a in-depth, intense learning. You know, it's a very beneficial course.
And this is for Cimini, his first opportunity to take charge of this TFC2 side. Has been with the TFC Academy for about 10 years now. This is his first chance to take charge of this team and trying to work his way up the ladder as well.
Yeah, I think he's been involved with this organization for 10 years. So it's great to see coaches climbing the ladder through the academy into the second team and hopefully into the first team later on. But following the similar pathway that the players want to follow, obviously from academy, climbing the ranks. So there's a pathway, like something that everybody can see and believe and buy into to progress in the future.
Good step there. And it's moved out wide for Batiz. Batiz a step over and trying to get to that end line. Squares it back across. And this one is cut out by Churic. Corner kick upcoming for Rochester.
That's what you want to see often. You want to see Batiz getting the ball, see him matched up 1v1 against Perlman. He gets the better of him. Maybe the ball's driven on the floor, and I think in this situation, if he picks his head up, he sees that there's not too much options there for that. Maybe hanging it, allowing it to be in the air for a player to attack would have been a better option. Just thinking it up a little bit, but great play, great intricacy, delicacy, a little bit of flair in the 1v1 battle between Batiz and Perlman.
It's Garrett who will stand over this corner kick. Looping in, and there was a whistle before the header came. Free kick back to Toronto.
It's interesting because Garrett didn't start the game, but since he's been in, he's definitely been the one who's taken responsibility for the ball on every single set piece. I think he'd be labeled the dead ball specialist.
Of course, with Opie Edwards getting his first start, it only lasted about 18 minutes for Rochester before Garrett came back on, who's been with the team since the beginning of this season.
Garrett again winning possession of the ball here with his tenacity, closing players down, willing to put his foot in and make tackles and challenges. And then when he's in possession, he's very good also in possession.
Slipped inside, it's Batiz, but it's Gavrin who steps up with a big save. Nearly a second for Batiz, and now maybe a chance in transition for Toronto.
I think that passage of play there from Rochester deserved the goal, but if you don't take advantage of it, sometimes you get punished at the other end.
Diaz kind of lofted that forward in the oncoming run of Peruzza, but put out of play. Corner kick for Toronto, end to end.
Great build up here, great run. If he can just get under this and lift it over the goalkeeper, Gavrin does ever so well to come out quickly and close down the space and make it hard for Batiz to get his second goal. But the build up play, winning the ball from Rochester again, very impressive.
It's Franklin ready to take this. Expected goals for Toronto still under 0.1 at 0.09. Haven't been too goal dangerous as this comes in. It's an easy catch for Kaique, who's never afraid to come off his line.
Made it look so easy, like he was cherry picking there, Kaique. Just keeps his eye on the path of the ball, comes up there so easy. You could argue that nobody from Toronto FC was actually making a run to attack it and make his life a little bit more difficult, but
he has a big presence in that penalty area. They also have Davis Smith, Rochester does, who is available off the bench, who is 6'7". He's a forward. Diaz trying to turn the corner. He was cut off by Batista. This is kept in play, and Batista will try to carry it out.
Good defending there from Batista. Just cuts the run of the attacker, gets first to the ball.
And Nalian trying to run away, and now a very late whistle. Bruno Baltazar up in arms.
I thought Nalian did ever so well there.
The yellow card will be given.
I thought he did well there to hold on to the ball, drawing the pressure of 2 or 3 players, then turn and get himself out of it. But I guess there's something that the referee saw there that we didn't see as yet. Be interesting to see the replay. Maybe it's there, that left elbow that he lifts. I don't believe he lifts it with the intention of hitting the defender. He just kind of lifts it naturally to kind of protect yourself and your balance.
He's also taller. That was right in front of the 4th official. I wonder if he had a word there with the center ref, which is Mario Elias. They do have that communication system. Comes into the middle. Franklin now for Diaz. Cuts it towards the penalty spot. Peruz is there. Back to his left. Diving save, Kayike. May have been going wide. He was taking no chances. Time and space for Peruz to get the shot away.
Great individual effort here from Peruz, but Kayike again coming up big for his team. Ball drilled in from the wide area here, and Peruz does ever so well. First touch, opens up his body with a second touch and tries to bend it into the far corner, but Kayike does ever so well, pushing it away from goal, maintaining his team's position in the lead.
Here's Diaz. Tried to let that run through, didn't quite come off to the liking there of Camarero. Here comes Rochester looking for a response to all this Toronto attack, and it's Garrett. Ian Garrett on that left foot, but not able to test Luka Gavrin. He's been feeling it in this second half.
Yeah, you can see when Garrett picks up his ball, he starts driving, and defenders trying to show him down the line into the wide areas, but he's not having none of it. Cuts inside onto his favored left foot and drills it. Unfortunately, a little too much height on it. Clear of the crossbar.
Franklin. I think there was an appeal for handball. It's one back anyway. Jallo moves it out wide for Batiz. Jallo continues his run. And the cross is well out of play. It's really been that final ball, I think, for both sides right now.
Yeah, and you wonder if I think a little bit more Rochester, they've got themselves into good positions and just the final delivery's not be good enough. And you wonder if that's going to come back to bite them later on in this game. Just a little bit more patience in the final third, I think, from Rochester. They rush that final ball and end up losing the opportunity to create a meaningful chance. But they've created some great positions they found themselves in. Just the timing and execution of that final pass.
Kobe Franklin, who was crunched in that challenge, gets back on his feet. Goes back to what we were talking about in the first half. Even those sorts of challenges, you don't want to stay down. You got to get right back up on your feet.
That's it. It helps to change the mentality of players. Where you might go down and try and kill the tempo of the game and, you know, like try to make the referee feel sorry for you. Now there's none of that. If you want to do that, you're going to have to go off to the pitch for 3 minutes, which puts your team in a disadvantaged position. So now you're almost developing a mentality where you can get hit. You've got to get up and get on with it. Like that, for me, that's always the right response.
And Franklin right back into the play as well.
Let the referee take control of whether it's a foul or not. As a player, your mentality is you've got to get up and help your team defend if you've lost possession of the ball or if the team made a tackle against you.
Perusa up over the top, trying to cut this back, and Tonoglu is making the run. He's just off the mark. Jallo found by Yates. And this will go back to Toronto. Here's Yates.
You're looking at Toronto FC and you're looking for who's that player that's going to be the one to unlock this Rochester defense. You know, I think Perusa's had moments in the second half where he's looked dangerous. He's looked like he's the man who's going to be capable of either taking the chance himself or creating for one of his teammates. But besides him, there's not really been anybody who's looked like they're threatening the goal.
Perusa had that shot that forced the diving save out of Kaique. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet, to be fair, for both sides. Perusa.
Can see how many numbers Rochester have behind the ball right now. They have all 11 players deep in the defensive half, which is good because it means that all the players buy into the mentality that every player on the field has a defensive responsibility. And while they're in this phase of the game where they're in the lead and the weather in the storm where Toronto FC having the better possession, all players are focused and concentrated on their defensive responsibilities. And I think that is what's allowed them to maintain this lead and have stopped Toronto being successful in trying to create goal-scoring opportunities, is the attitude and intensity of this Rochester team in defending when they don't have possession of the ball.
Camarero trying to cut this back. Franklin for Camarero. It's Alec Diaz. The brakes on. Now gets to the end line. It'll be a corner kick. Didn't quite go how Diaz expected, but they'll have a chance from the corner flag.
Could see some last-ditch defending. You thought that the defender sold himself a little bit too easy there and was going to allow him to get the delivery into the box, but his teammate comes across, backs him up. Here you see chops him, but his teammate comes across, stops the delivery into the box from Batista. Corner kick Toronto.
And here it comes. That's headed away. Only the top of the area as Kaique gets back on his line. Diaz winds up for the shot and was blocked down. And Tonoglu in an offside position. I think Diaz may have even been in an offside position in that last sequence as well. But
good defending again from Rochester. They don't win the first one. They do a good job of closing down the second one, getting out, putting pressure onto players when the ball's at the edge of the box. But the pressure is starting to mount a little bit. You do sense that the momentum is changing a little bit in favor of Toronto as the game ticks on.
There's Tonoglu trying to come back from taking that corner kick. Didn't quite get back on side. Just 2 shots in this second half for Toronto. They're looking for a comeback. Remember, they've only lost 1 game over their last 12. Their last 2 losses overall in regulation have been against the Chicago Fire 2. A foul and a free kick coming. Imbong brought down, and this a good chance to test Kaike again.
Good play from Mbong to stay with it and with the free kick. His starting position when the ball was played over in the air was really good. He was in between the 2 centre-backs in space, however, he was unable to get it down with his first touch, but he did well to stay with the play, stay tenacious, try to win it back, and ends up winning a free kick for his team in a very dangerous area right now.
Yates and Antonoglu standing over it. Too far to have a hit? It's that in-between distance.
The in-between distance, I think, has to be very accurate to be delivered to a teammate, and it has to be spectacular to beat the keeper from that distance.
This will be Yates. He'll serve this in. It'll be a corner kick. The 9th corner kick of this game for Toronto. Goulbourne. The cross coming in from a good angle, punched away by Kaike. Goulbourne will keep it alive again.
Good delivery there from Camero.
Here's Camarero again, advantage being played. Diaz starts to stand it up to the back post. It was Garrett to step in and head it clear. Now Rochester can get back on the ball. And Jallo, another run right through the center of that Toronto midfield. Perlman stepped in this time, trying to spring Diaz in behind, and that ball was not the right direction.
Not even close. It was the right idea, but the quality on the pass was left a lot to be desired. Just needed to put it into the space of the winner, making the run. He was never getting it when it's angled like that towards Kaike. We've already seen how quick Kaike is to come off his line. You cannot put the ball that close to him. He's anticipating, he's reading the game.
Looked like a whole host of substitutions readying. Sean Walks, Julian Altobelli, Marcus Simmermancic all coming on. Alec Diaz will be the first one to come on to the fields.
Substitutions for Toronto FC in the 67th minute. Leaving the game are number 72, Stephen Yates.
Will also be Stephen Yates coming off.
And number 83, Hugo Imbong.
And Hugo Imbong. He started 11 games and has been brought off 9 times.
Number 33, Rashawn Walks. And number 82, Julian Altobelli.
So a combined 10 goals and 5 assists coming onto the field for this Toronto FC 2 side. Let's see if they can mount this comeback. Remember, they need a win. If they get a win in regulation, they can clinch a playoff spot and the division, which means they will host that first playoff game. A foul and a free kick coming. Rochester able to win this back in the middle, and space to work for Williams. Running right at this back line, a great step. Shoe reach there right in the center of that back line.
I think that's Churich there making that same interception twice now in 5 minutes. Mbong, similar run earlier. Great timing.
Substitution for Rochester, New York in the 69th minute.
That'll be the end of the day for the goal scorer, Jesus Batiz.
Number 12, Dante Brigida.
It's Dante Brigida coming onto the field. There's 1 goal this year, does Brigida, but he did score 35 goals in his college career at Oral Roberts. And a good day at the office for Jesus Batiz, who has a goal that could potentially send Rochester to the playoffs, although they'll have to wait until Wednesday to know for certain.
Yeah, I think he may be even disappointed they didn't have 2 goals before he left the pitch, but definitely took his first goal very nicely. He's been an attacking threat for Rochester throughout his duration on the pitch, and he did his team very well today.
Flag up for offside, and we'll go back the other way as Rashawn walks. Just leaving a bit too early.
Be interesting to see the next 5 minutes. So many substitutions made in a short period of time. Obviously has a disruption on the chemistry and the fluidity of the game. Opportunities for both teams to take advantage of that.
20 minutes to go. Just the 1 goal in it from Batiz all the way back in the 17th minute.
Toronto making a couple of offensive changes, bringing in Walks to try and get themselves back into this game. But interesting enough, Rochester also made an offensive switch, bringing on Brigida for Batiz. You thought that maybe they would have gone a little bit more defensive and tried to defend their lead, but still staying on the front foot. It'll be interesting to see if that plays out to be advantageous.
As things stand in the live standings, it would actually be Rochester jumping over Toronto into 2nd place. Toronto moved down to 3rd spot. Rochester has a big game coming up against NYCFC next week at home. Going to be on decision day. Of course, Toronto still has a couple of games on their schedule as they take on Inter Miami 2 on Wednesday right here, and then travel to Orlando, take on OCB on decision day. Room to work through the middle again. It's Christian Wood in a wide position. Garrett gets it out wide. He continues his run. There's Brigida just onto the field.
Good play there from Rochester. The ball just getting stuck under the feet of Brigida. Batista there. A little bit of flair in the defense.
Wood back for an Alien. Comes into the middle for Jallo. Just keeping the ball right now is Rochester and making Toronto chase.
I think they're obviously playing the long game. They're trying to wear them down because there's good opportunities with the possession that Rochester have right now, players get into dangerous positions where they can turn and go forward, but they're opting to play the ball backwards and keep the safe possession rather than the riskier possession or the pass that has a higher chance of leading to a goal scoring opportunity. Playing the safer options right now, but sometimes that can come to bite you in the end.
Here's Wood.
For the position they had, you want to see more players making runs behind. They're having to play backwards and sideways a lot because there's just not players making runs behind and stretching the defense of Toronto FC. I think that would be the next addition into that phase of possession they had, is players now stretching and making runs in between defenders where they can catch them making runs forward at speed towards goal.
But to be fair, they can afford to do that with the 1-0 advantage.
But 1-0 is not a big lead, right?
Yep.
We've seen that Perusa's had a couple of chances in this second half to...
Jala wins it back in a good area, but immediately taken off his foot.
Camarero there with a good defensive interception, but both teams guilty. You can see how frequently possession is turning over with careless giveaways. I really like what Garrett's added to this team since he's come into the game. Good range of passing, but his ability to also pick up the ball and take players off and take players on and drive inside.
Sean walks as well. Wins a throw-in. Getting into the final 15 minutes. Toronto really needing something to go their way.
Substitution for Toronto FC in the 75th minute. Leaving the game is number 62, Rohan Goulbourne.
And this will be the last sub
12,
of the game for Toronto FC 2. Caden Chung will be coming on to replace Rohan Goulbourne. First season with Toronto FC, as that shot by Brigida is blocked down. Now Analian. Chung had spent the last 3 years with Pacific FC in the CPL. I mentioned the easiest way for TFC2 to clinch a playoff spot is win the game outright in regulation. There are ways, though, to do it if they lose or if they tie. It's given away again. And there's the foul.
Rochester had a good period of possession there, but they definitely could have been more meaningful in how they were possessing the ball. A lot of opportunities to play forward, a lot of opportunity for players to make runs forward, but it was kind of just a spell where they were just passing for the sake of passing more so than trying to create a goal-scoring opportunity or working the ball into dangerous areas where they can cause havoc. It was just a lot of passing for the sake of passing, and you know, I think that in the long term can make you pay. You turn down opportunities to go forward and create goal-scoring opportunities. At 1-0, it's not really it's not 3 or 4-0, right? Where you can afford to say, okay, we're taking our foot off the gas and we're just keeping possession of the ball. I think at 1-0, you still have to have one eye on creating as many goal-scoring opportunities you can and putting the game into a safe distance away from your opponents.
Here's Perusa. Perusa still coming forward. His shot was blocked down in the end. So many bodies back behind the ball. Now to play for a goal kick, but Perusa knocking on the door once again. Yeah, you can see he has those feet inside the box, and defenders have to be careful. Mistimed challenge or a lunge could end up in the referee blowing his whistle and resulting in a PK. But you see some players going down right now. You can see a lot of players with their hands on their knees. It's fatigue kicking in.
when you start to get tired like that, it really becomes a mental test going into the final 10 minutes of the games. And we know this is the phase where many games are lost or won. So many goals are conceded in the last 10 minutes of games just because of that fatigue factor. When your body's starting to fatigue, the lactic acid is building up, and you tend to switch off, or you tend to be a little bit lazy in your defensive responsibilities. You may not take up a good position as early as much as you should. You may not recover with the intensity in the run that you need to, and sometimes that can end up in you being punished. So for the next 10 minutes, and you can see the tiredness in the players' bodies for sure, mental concentration and focus is going to be the key differentiator between these two teams.
Looks like Gabriel Costa will be coming on. It's Christian Wood who is in some pain, and he is walking off the field. This is the last sub of the game for Rochester.
If this result holds, this is a great result for Rochester. Not just because they pick up 3 points, but for the confidence of the team and the organization as they come towards these last couple of fixtures in the playoffs. It's going to do wonders for their confidence and belief as a team. We spoke about how strong they are, chemistry as a unit, the adversity they face has brought them together. But at this phase of the season, being able to pull off a result like this away from home, you know, I think that does wonders for building more confidence and momentum going forward.
And the fact that they had won or lost 4 out of 5, winless in that 5-game stretch. Chance here to maybe make it 2. Brigida taking off the ball.
Again, the ball just gets stuck under his feet. I think he's trying to create an opportunity to create a shot for himself, but I think a cleaner touch he would have found in Eilian in the center of the box all alone. He squares it to him. Opportunity to put his team 2-0 in the lead, but the game right now is stretched open end to end.
Nothing doing for Toronto. And back to Rochester for a moment. They went on that 5-game winless run with everything they've been through. First-year club probably would have accepted the fact that if they didn't get things back on track, they just kind of faltered at the end of the season. But the fact that Bruno Baltazar has been able to get this team back on track, looking to win a 3rd straight game, very, very impressive from this team. They still have 10 minutes to defend. The shot is right down the chute, taken by Kaike, who's looking for a league-leading 8th clean sheet.
Yeah, that area in front of the defense is really the area where Rochester need to play a little bit more focus. Those second balls that are dropping in front of the back line, and Toronto doing a good job of picking up. They need to close players down quicker, not allow them to get time and space to get shots off. But Bruno Baltazar, he spoke about, you know, the ambitions and goals of the organization and the team at the beginning of the season, based upon the adversity that they faced, was just to be competitive. Go out there, compete, you know, make sure that we're not getting outblasted by any other teams throughout the course of the league, and they've definitely not done that. They find themselves right now in a phenomenal position that they never expected to be in, and the players are starting to believe more that they could possibly go on and achieve something magnificent this season. And why not?
So they waited to bring Costa on because Inalian also was going to come up, so they're using that last window to make 2 subs. It looks like Michael Smith is the other one to come on. They hadn't used their last window, and they held Costa on the side. So they were down to 10 men for just a few moments.
Interesting, because it looks like they may now switch formation, because Garrett is now operating on the left-hand side of the pitch, where obviously being a left-footed player finds himself a little bit more natural on this side of the field. Earlier in the game, he was operating on the right-hand side of the field.
Another foul, and there's Garrett, who has caused this Toronto side plenty of trouble today.
Now it's a different challenge for them to defend in terms of Garrett. On the right-hand side, he was cutting inside onto his left foot. Now he's on the left-hand side. Probably not going to cut in on his right foot, because I've not seen him use his right foot too much in this game, but he's definitely going to drive down the line and deliver dangerous balls into the box. So now, instead of being the one driving inside and laying through passes or taking shots himself, now he's going to become more of a provider, delivering crosses into the box from these wide areas.
Cross headed right towards goal. And a really nice save by Luka Gavrin.
Again, we've seen that ball played a number of times in this second half and has not been successful from Toronto FC. Both teams just lacking a little bit of quality in their possession right now.
Is that a handball? It's turned over anyway. Williams! It's just wide into side netting.
Williams really should have done better in that situation. Terrible giveaway from Toronto FC, building out the back again. And they almost get punished for it.
There's a foul. It'll be a free kick to Rochester. It looks like a yellow card will come along with this.
Rochester just been a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more on the front foot, a little bit quicker to react to everything tonight. First ball, second ball, balls, challenges.
And it's Marcus Zimmermancic going into the book. 17-year-old. That's a handball. 5 minutes to go. Is there a way back in this for Toronto to maybe just grab some sort of result? Trying to play this in behind. Kayike off his line again.
He's almost like a sweeper. He anticipates those passes so well. He reads the body language of the players. He knows once they get their head up, the ball outside their feet, the likelihood is they're going to play it over the top of the defense, and he does ever so well to read the play and be there every time to sweep it up. He's done it 3 or 4 times consistently during the course of the game, and it's not something that you see many goalkeepers do very well. I think it's a unique attribute that he brings in his game that is a huge advantage.
Mar Batista. Another foul there at midfield. Peruzza tried to run away. Dolabella went down. This might be a frustration yellow card. And Peruzza has his name taken.
I don't think the yellow card's for the foul. I think it's because he kicks the ball away after the referee books him for petulance.
Yellow card issued in the 87th minute to Toronto FC's number 77, Jordan Peruzza.
Costa cutting in field, the extra pass, but it's offside. Nice finish there by Brigida.
Yeah, Brigida
was left too early. It
was a great finish, but he's just in an offside position. It looked way too easy. Either he was in it was really bad defending, or he was offside because he was in far too much space there. But give him credit for the finish. But, just positioned all wrong to take advantage of that opportunity.
Rolling this in behind, Kayike again. Sweeper keeper.
Another keeper, I think it's 2 or 3 goals for Toronto FC. That's a great ball and a great run. But Kayike is so quick off his line and so well at reading and anticipating the game that he makes it look easy.
And the flag up for offside on Peruzza. And Rochester will take its time putting this back in play.
because they're going to come across that player that has the ability to maybe make it look like they're going to play that pass and find Kaike being quick to come off his line and loft it over his head.
Ooh. It's close.
I think if Brigida just pulls his run back a little bit rather than advancing forward, just retracts his run back a little bit and stays in line with the defender, he would have been in just as good a position.
Another free kick back to Toronto. Under 2 minutes to go. Long over the top. 2 white shirts there to usher it back to Kaike.
Rochester, again, 2 bodies around the ball, snuffing out any danger. Defensively, they've been phenomenal tonight.
And Tonoglu, this is not the time to go down. Kind of an awkward fall there. Going back to what we've been talking about quite a bit today, it's a mentality now.
Yeah, players try to get back up on their feet as quick as possible and no longer try to slow down the tempo of the game. They know that that's not going to work well for them or their team in the long run, so it helps to keep the game, keep the ball in play, keep the game moving.
One for Toronto to go down to 10 men for what would probably be almost the rest of this game. That could probably do them in. They need all 11 out there right now. Long distribution by Gavrin. It's walks. Now Kobe Franklin. It's 4 minutes added on.
Still time here for Toronto to create one more meaningful goal scoring opportunity at least.
Maybe they can at least grab a point out of this, maybe an extra if they can win a shootout, but they have to get there first. Trying to turn the corner, and this is cut out. Throw in again.
Again, Garrett, they're making the key interception. This is where it's all about focus and concentration. Everybody has to make sure they're doing their job and man marking. Staying tight, connected. Don't get dragged out of formation.
Flick through, it's Franklin. Ball into the middle, and it's over the bar. Who got the last touch on it? Churich was crashing in. A Konyerich there defensively.
Give a Konyerich credit here, because if he doesn't get across and put that pressure onto the attacker, his team are leaving this game with just 1 point. Does ever so well to get across. Even if he doesn't get the final touch, just to be there and put the pressure and make it difficult for the striker to finish. It's great defending.
It's a lovely ball in from Franklin, and it is out for a goal kick. A yellow card given to Kaike there for time wasting. All Gavrin can do is put that out of play midway through the minimum of 4 minutes.
Misplaced clearance there from Gavrin. Just gives the ball back to Rochester, and they'll be in no hurry to get this ball into play. They'll be completely slowing down the tempo of the game, taking as long as they can.
Gavrin will come up to take this.
Not sure Costa needs to be doing all the running he's doing right now. He's chasing shadows because he's not closing down intensely. He just needs to keep his discipline and shape throughout the team.
One minute to go.
Yellow card issued extra time to Rochester, New York FC.
There's a potential chance for Toronto with 3 points today to clinch its first ever playoff berth in team history. Instead, it's Rochester who might spoil that, and they could move a little bit closer to securing a playoff spot. Little push in the back. It's a free kick to Rochester, and that might just do it.
You thought Rochester might have gone for the second goal. It was 4v2. They just opted to play the safe part, head towards the corner, wind down the clock, win the free kick, play it safe.
So if Rochester can hold on for 3 points, they need an NYCFC loss in regulation or a tie on Wednesday against FC Cincinnati 2. And tonight they did an Inter Miami 2 loss in regulation to Columbus. I wouldn't say either of those are necessarily out of the question.
Nice feet from Costa.
And that is the final whistle. Rochester comes on the road and grabs 3 crucial points. They have now won 3 games in a row for the 3rd time.